discussing free will and determinism. We've discussed this before, like on this channel. I'm I'm known for just not believing in it. I think not only is there no free will, I'll argue an even stronger position. I don't think there is even a possibility for free will. I think it is incoherent as a concept.
Hmm.
So, now, Duke, I want to thank you for coming back on.
I think you're
Uh,
awesome, dude.
yeah, man. Always a pleasure. We always have like some really good conversations on the phone. Uh, I like to, I guess, hear what your position on free will is.
Mhm. So I think free will is exists in the order of God's sovereignty. So God's sovereignty trumps free will. Uh,
Okay.
but in the sense of I'll say it's corresponding to God's sovereignty. It's free will is an effect of God's sovereignty, which means we have the ability to make choices of what position and role we play in life or our impact in life to a certain degree based off the dominion under the principles of having dominion over the earth. So when God says that let us make man in our image,
Mm-hmm.
and he says give them dominion over the earth, the word let means to allow without restraint, to
Okay.
allow, and so when I look at that, the letting process, there's that free will mentioned in just let, like I'm pouring what I'm pouring into mankind, and then of course the giving dominion over the earth. So I see again another statement of free will there, and then of course he even exercises the free will when he tells them to,
But
hey,
you said let them. No, what was that verse you said? It says let them do what?
let
And
us
that's
make man in our image. When he
okay.
says let us make man in our image, what's
And
that?
that means to do. You said that means like to operate without restraint. Is that what you said?
Yeah, in the letting, he's saying, I'm gonna make man without any restraint of who I am. So like just as much as I am free in
Mm-hmm.
this simulation, right? Because he's creating a human being like him, but not him, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
creates humans in man in his likeness, which means the most man can be is like God, and that's a complete difference between God and man. Is man can only be like him, but it'll never be him. And
Okay. Could you define what you would say free will is, or I can give 'em what I think people mean when they say free will. I
I know what people think they mean when they say free will.
what
That's just the ability to do whatever they want. That's not true.
Okay, well, I think most would acknowledge that they couldn't do whatever they want. Like for instance, like most people who believe in free will, like would acknowledge that they can't fly in outer space, or they can't, I don't know, levitate or something like that, right? Like there's obviously like some physical restraints based on laws of physics, like human capability, etc. You can't lift the mountain, right? But that wouldn't necessarily mean you don't have free will. I think most of the time, would you say that they're talking about like catalytic influence?
Mhm.
So like not like just influence. Like anything has that. Like kind of like when you knock over a domino and one knocks over the another one and next over the next one. Like so each dominoes have an influence, but they mean catalytic influence, like as in ability to initiate without itself
Yeah.
being the result of some other initiation.
Mhm. So I think again, and this is where I said the concept of free will
Mm-hmm.
does exist within the confines of having dominion over the earth. So that domino effect that catalytic effect does exist. But the difference is that we have to consider psychologically that humans were never created to be independent, right?
Right.
We were created to be interdependent, us and God, right?
But can
So
I
if
can I
we
stop you before you continue? Because you said that catalytic influence exists for us on the earth. Like I want to challenge that. All right, so let's just think about this, okay? Like for yourself, right? Now, like what year were you born?
1979.
1979, right? Okay, so in anything that happened in 1970 and prior, did you have any influence on that?
Yes. Oh, before
Yeah, before
1979?
then. Yeah.
Oh, not before. No.
Right, right. Like you didn't do anything like before you were born, or
Right.
maybe before birth. Maybe like conception, right? You don't know the date you were conceived, but
Right.
like prior to conception, you had no influence, right? So there was this causal chain that goes all the way back to the Big Bang or to God or whatever you believe in, right? That you had no part in, right? And then you was brought into existence. You didn't decide to be conceived. You had no choice in that matter. You didn't decide who you were, your race, your sex. You didn't decide what parents you'd have. You didn't decide under what circumstances you'd be born, the country, the time. You didn't decide what your skills, what your talents, your intelligence, how smart you are or how smart you aren't. You didn't decide your your work ethic. Like none of those things. They were just thrown. You were just thrown in, and these these events, part of this causal chain that you had nothing to do with, formed who you are and created your limitations and your tendencies.
Mm.
How could you say that is catalytic influence? That
Uh,
is a domino.
yeah. So one, there's consequence no matter what. There's I call it the sequence of consciousness.
Hmm.
That's what a consequence is. The sequence of consciousness. Like whatever you think, how you process. There's a sequence that follows along with that. So like you talked about the things that we don't have control over. This would automatically be a statement, like almost a conceding that we should never even be close to being prideful or think more of ourselves than we should when we know how much influence we don't actually have, that we were born fundamentally and foundationally not with our own willpower.
Right now, think about this. Think about this. You saw all the things that we have no control over. Think about the things that we do influence. Aren't those all just the results of things that we don't influence?
So this is the thing.
Like for instance, I started like me and my co-host, we started this podcast, right? That you could say we influence this, right? This show, right? But that's just the result of other things that's available to us. That like our personality traits, the fact that we love debate, the fact that we actually met. We were born at a certain place in time where we're able to meet each other. Like that, we didn't choose any of those things. So even the
Right.
things that we quote unquote control are the results of things that we don't.
Well, we do get to control so there's two types of levels of control, and there's the thing is that we have self control,
Hmm.
the ability to control ourselves. The ability to control ourselves often comes from what we surrender to, what we surrender ourselves to. So what we choose to believe, and I have a little saying like, what inspires you, informs you. Right? What inspires you will inform you. What
Hmm.
informs you will influence you.
Do you choose what inspires you?
Oh, absolutely. You know,
Really?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
So you
inspired.
could choose to be like you could choose to be inspired by something.
Yeah. So what's going to happen
Okay.
is when you make a choice, especially once you get informed. So if you can get inspired, you can get inspired by functionality or inspired by dysfunction. And if you once you know that one thing, and you get that information, because I said what inspires you informs you. So when you get inspired by dysfunction or you get inspired by functionality, and once you find out something's dysfunctional, but it still has access, it still inspires you. It's still there's something that you can that there's a connection there. That's really a confession of something you may not have control over, because what that means is that now this is an impulse, right? So
Hmm.
even though it inspires you and it's dysfunctional, but you still want it because there's something you value about it.
Could you give me an example of something you were inspired by?
Well, the Bible, right?
Okay, and you said that was a choice.
Yeah,
You read the Bible and made a conscious decision to be inspired.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because especially when I look at my life and saw
Can I
how.
ask a seemingly unrelated question?
Sure.
Okay, what is your favorite food of all time?
You're talking to a fat guy.
Same. I mean, I'm a fat guy too. I'm with you. There's a
Okay,
lot
but
of food that I really enjoy.
this is probably the toughest question of all.
I know it's going to be the toughest one on the podcast for sure.
I'll say, I will say, it's actually like a steak. It's got to be.
Steak. Did you choose to like steak?
Out of the options of food that I've tried, then yeah, steak was the one that appealed to me the most.
So
But
you tried a bunch of food and you decided you like steak.
the most, yeah.
So when
But
you had it, you just enjoyed it, or did you decide that you were going to enjoy it?
I decided that I liked the experience, the taste. There's a whole bunch
no,
that
no, no,
goes.
no, no. I don't think you understand what he's saying. Okay, so he's not asking like he's not asking like whether you assessed whether you liked it. Like you looked at it and then made it an assessment. He's asking like when you bit the steak
Did I just
and
enjoy it?
you made a decision. I can either enjoy it or I could think it's disgusting. And
Yeah,
you made a conscious decision to enjoy it. That is what he's
yeah,
asking. Am I right,
yeah. No,
Prasad?
and I
That's
understand
correct.
that,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and I
So
understand that.
would you
Uh,
say that's what happened when you first tried steak?
Yeah, this is the thing is so this is what's funny is how one thing connects to the next is like I remember wanting to be like my father and he enjoyed steak. And so then
Ah,
I was like, oh, so now I'm inspired by my father
so
eating steak. And then
so
when I
there's this influence. There's this thing that you've seen that like now there's this thing maybe like in your case a father or maybe a celebrity figure that does this thing that you want to emulate. So now there's this innate desire in you that may influence how much you like steak.
yeah, for sure.
So it
That
wasn't a
may
conscious decision necessarily that you chose to like steak.
Well, so this is the thing is that that I would go with that if there were certain things like there's certain beers that my family are afraid with the same concept. They're like, but then when I taste it, I didn't like it. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
there has to be some
Well, you could
consistency
just
in the
use your free
concept.
will and make yourself like it, couldn't you?
Well, so guess what? I did. Especially, I would did not like smoking a cigarette. Right?
Hmm.
Your body's literally like, I don't want this. This sucks. But then we do it for different reasons. We do it for different motivations to fit in. So we'll
Hmm.
deny those things to just go through it, to push through it. So psychologically, I'm in so much control that I can know something's bad for me, know I don't like something, but do it anyway, just because of the fact
But
that I found a greater reason.
okay, but what I'm saying is so that it's not. Yes, you could do something even if you don't like it. But what I'm asking is, can you decide what you like? Hey, you're attracted to women, right?
Yes.
Did you choose to be attracted to women?
I think I was taught to be attracted to women just because the way kids are, they don't know anything, right?
Could
They're a clean
could
slate.
right now because you would choose to be gay.
Uh, I mean, dudes do it all the time in the prison. There's no option.
No, 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 no,
No,
no.
no, they do.
I,
They're like, hey, look, man, I need to
okay.
feel some intimacy. I need to feel some intimacy. Dudes go to jail, and that's what happens. A lot of times, dudes
Okay.
will have sex with guys in prison,
All right.
and then be like, I'm not gay, and it's like, wait, yeah, you are. Like, and so that's the thing that a lot of stuff is a response psychologically to
Hmm.
environment, a lot of stuff. So I agree that what you're saying does exist where there are just reactions, there's just cause and effect. Those things do happen, but the one thing we always have control over is how we respond to things. So when someone says, do you like this food, like I can find 100 reasons to not like steak, especially if it's the way that it's cooked, the fact that red meat has killed lots of people. I can find, and then all of a sudden I can just flip a switch and start thinking about everything. Whether it's like, how do we know how it's killed, like how the animal is killed, are they treated properly? I can find a whole different reasons to make myself not like steak just by thinking about.
No,
Unless
but
this,
I don't think you can though. What you're doing is you're evaluating something. You're trying to say I have a reason to do something, right? I'm not asking whether you have a reason or even if it's a good one. I'm
Okay.
just asking at a base level. When I asked you your favorite food, it was something that immediately came to your head of like I like steak. That's fine. I'm not asking you to justify your belief or
Well,
reason to like steak, right? And I'm not asking you to give me a reason why you prefer steak over another thing. just like I'm not going to ask you to give me a reason you find a particular type of woman attractive, right?
Right.
There are things that you probably just genuinely can't explain as to why you find steak appealing or this woman appealing or this thing repulsive or whatever. Like there, and that's kind of my point, is that there's
So I
a
do feel like
number of things that have influenced literally everything in your life, including your, propensity to eat steak.
so when I do acknowledge that there are more variables in reality that people are most willing to accept. Most people like to live in their little box, and then anything outside of their box they just don't accept or don't feel like they have time to think. But even in that has been a construct that absolutely was created. I do believe that there's a difference between society and life itself. In society, there are principles that man has made that when we use when they, even though they share the same language to a certain degree, the difference between society and life is society is completely unstable. It is a lot of times it is oppressive. Elitism is involved.
Let's let's. I wanted to bring back to this food decision thing.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say I like compile like this is the most disgusting concoction ever. Like it is was rotten meat,
That's how
rotten
people say I
eggs.
cook. That's how people say
Right.
my
Yeah.
cooking.
Okay. I mean, this is tough. This is like barely edible. Probably gonna make you sick.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it just smells like garbage. Right.
Mhm.
Shit mixed with garbage. Right.
Okay.
That's rotten. Now, you think you could make a decision to like it?
So absolutely, and I'm going to tell you why. Because people do it
Okay.
all the time. When they're in a situation where there's people eating food and can't even smell the garbage because they themselves have already been so deprived. So human depravity, they're like food. And I was explaining this to my son
Mm-hmm.
when a homeless guy walks up to the trash can and he goes through the trash can, and I'm almost getting sick thinking about it. Goes through the trash can, and before I could tell him not to, that I would buy him some food. Like I'm like, oh my god, that guy's about to get food out of the trash can. He was already in a half-eaten sandwich that we don't know how long it was. Without thinking about it, had already trained himself to do that. Obviously, also in the military,
Well,
we know.
I think there, but he's not. So I think there, it's not like he's choosing to like a half-eaten sandwich or an old sandwich. I think you're talking about there like a guy's just in desperation, right? Like you're just so hungry, like you'll eat just about anything. That's very different from making a decision to enjoy it. Like hey, like here, like right now, like in your first world country with pretty much all the food that you could eat available to you at your fingertips. Right now, you couldn't make the decision to like a half-eaten sandwich out the garbage.
I
Like you think you
you
could
tell
do
me.
that?
Yeah,
You
no.
could you could use your free will and be like,
So here's the
I
thing:
want
is that
I
I did
want
that
that
on a
garbage.
dare, like
Hmm.
because I did like I'm a very extreme person, and maybe I'm the what do you call it, the rarity. The reason
Hmm.
why is because when people would dare me, Duke, I dare you to do this, and then I would do it just to be stupid, just to show people that I could take the dare. So when I think about the dumb things that I've done, it was like I'm
But
gonna
what
do
Right,
this.
but
I'm not saying you could like cause one time I was like in this I was like brand new in the army. Probably maybe like I was in maybe like a year or two. Right. We were out in the field and we had this huge Reese's cup Easter egg, right? It was huge, right? They sell like once a year. And so somebody dared me and I made the decision to eat the entire thing. There's probably about like 9,000 calories of Reese's cup, right? And I felt awful,
Oh,
right?
dude,
Like
yeah,
halfway through it, I'm no longer enjoying it, right?
no, this is
Uh,
bad.
yeah, and so I was really sick afterwards. Now I could not make the decision to enjoy it. Like I made the decision to do it, to eat it, but like choosing to like it, that is very different.
Yeah, no, in that circumstance, I mean, but you chose the circumstance.
Okay,
Um,
but that's not what I'm asking. So so like to bring back to like to this food, like so do you think I could have made the decision to enjoy eating this? I don't know, this 5 or 6 pounds of Reese's cup.
could you have choose? Yeah, I think you can choose it. You can choose whatever you want. There's people that choose to be. There's people that choose to enjoy. Uh, you know, working on like cutting people open and seeing their guts because they're a doctor and they want to help people, and so they're choosing not to be disgusted by the smells of seeing the body. Then there's people that cut people open because they're murderers, they're serial killers, they're crazy people, and then that enjoys them. But you're not going to convince me that self control doesn't exist, because self control is
So
a choice.
there's a difference though in choosing to do something and enjoying something. So like when you say, "Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff on a dare," you're doing this thing on a dare maybe because you're trying to show how,
Impressive.
competent you are, how impressive you are, how
Yeah.
daring you are, how bold you are. And that's because that's a value to you, right? If you valued whatever that dare was more than the dare itself, you wouldn't have done it, right?
Right. But there's the goal, though. What is like if the goal is to get people's respect, then everything else just becomes a step to that goal that we create in our own head. So it's like these people are going to respect me more because I took this dare or I did this. So now the whether it tastes good or not, the value of that is less.
Right. But you
So
notice it didn't taste good. You couldn't choose that. You couldn't
you
make it
can't
taste
make
good.
it taste good. You can't make it taste good. That's a good point. You can't say you can lie to yourself, but you can't
Right.
actually make this taste good.
Right.
Like
And you can use your justification, whatever that is. I want to impress these people. I want to get
yeah,
stronger. I want to date a girl that is, you know,
so
perfect in looks, whatever. And you can
right.
have these aspirations based on your value system, but you can't force yourself to enjoy something, right?
Well, this is where I understand the difference in that variable because, like I said, if it's something that's just nasty and you can't you when you're eating it, the only thing you can do is deceive yourself and make yourself complete it, but it has nothing to do with the taste. You just completed it, but it doesn't. There's no
Right.
part
And
that's like, yeah,
and
this,
and completing it may be of great value to you. You may feel on top of the
but it
world,
doesn't
like, oh,
mean
I
that.
conquered a fear. I
Yeah,
completed this. I showed my friends who's boss.
but it doesn't mean that it tasted good.
Right. And you definitely may not enjoy it during or even
Yeah,
after, but you enjoy the sense of accomplishment or the sense of achievement that you got
right.
during it, right?
So that's how most people feel about a lot of liquor, and honestly, a lot of different, say like, different foods like octopus. They say, oh, my palate's different. Now the reason why I know that this is different is because every culture has a different food, different source. So in third world countries where they do eat different things like mosquito burgers, there's people that would say, I would rather die than eat a mosquito burger. But I actually watch in these cultures, I actually watch them enjoy the food because it's all they know, right? However, once they're able to get something that they have a choice, they choose the better thing. They no longer like the thing the mosquito burger. They no longer like this. They're like, whoa, this is really good. So when people are
Right.
given
That's
choices,
not a decision to like that
that's not
other.
a
So when they're introduced to some other food and they like that other food better, it is not a decision to like that other food.
I think the ability to think about and process that is a decision. We have to look up what the definition of an actual
Well,
decision.
that's why I was asking, like, what do you think free will is, or like a free act?
But
Because
and
like,
that's what I mean is that free will to me, free will is the ability to align yourself with reality or not. That's all free will is. Because that's what I meant when I know the way Christians use it. I know the way church people use it, but that's not the original concept of
so
free
when you
will.
say align yourself with reality or not, okay, are you saying? I guess go. Can you go into more detail about what you mean by that?
Align yourself to reality means the
Hmm.
ability to accept what is, what isn't, what's known, and to even accept what's unknown. So a speculation is a speculation, and but to keep it in that place, this is again where self control comes into
Hmm.
play. So a speculation is a speculation. So faith is faith. You know what I mean? And so those that don't have faith don't have it. You know what I mean? And
I,
so
I have another question for you. Let's
okay.
do this. Okay, if something was a free choice, would you say it was determined?
I think dualism exists. I think both. Certain things are determined,
Uh
and
huh.
then there's certain things that we get to choose how we maneuver with those factors.
Now, here's
And
another question for you. Do you make a distinction between something being caused and something being determined?
something being caused, and so, do I make a distinction
Hmm.
between something being caused and something being determined? Uh, I know that humans can cause things to happen, but things that are determined are permanent no matter what humans
Well,
cause. For example, if
okay.
the birth of Christ was happening no matter what humans did. So when the star, according to scripture, when the star comes to Herod's house
Hmm.
and the wise men go there, that's where Jesus was supposed to be born. But because the Roman culture took over and Herodias was there, Jesus goes to another place to be born. Now it's determined that he was going to be born. That's
Right. So,
determined by
no, no. When we talk about a cause, right now, let's think about the dominoes, right? One domino causes the next domino to fall over, which causes the next one.
right.
So, there's a causal chain. I would say not only is the prior domino causing the next domino to fall over, it is determining it. It's
Uh,
determining how it fall by what force it falls with.
but that was so the gravity.
It
What we would be determining it. The cause is that it fell on another domino.
right, but what I'm
What
saying,
determines it is the gravity behind it.
gravity and the mass of the domino and just reality and
Right.
everything that's involved that causes so that prior cause, that prior event is causing and also determining the I don't know what antecedent, even I don't know what word
I
I want
agree
to
with
use.
that.
Okay,
I agree with that.
okay. So all right, so something is determined also means it was caused. If it was caused, it means it was also determined.
In the physical realm, yes.
Okay, all right. So now let's think about this. So, is there something you can think of that isn't caused?
Something that I can think of that isn't caused.
Yes.
Mm, the only thing I can think of that isn't caused is God Himself. He's
Wouldn't that put like a hole in your free will argument? At least for us.
well, no, because remember, so my belief is that free will is within the domain of God's sovereignty. So God's
Right.
sovereignty rules
But
over.
but remember, so free will. So but remember, cause and determine are the same thing.
No,
If
based
it
on
caused something, it determined it. Like
no. So
if a ball hits another ball, the other ball is also it caused it to move, but the way that it moved was determined by the way it was hit.
well, no. Right? But what determined the effect of what determined the cause was how hard the impact that something greater than that caused. So
Right. So, but it was determined.
but it was that's what I'm saying is that it's determined,
For
right?
Phantom X in the chat, he said the collapse of the wave function isn't caused.
What
And Phantom, I actually disagree with you. I'm not sure if that is true. I think by the sheer act of measuring the wave, it's causing the collapse. Measuring isn't something that is passive. Like you have to interact with something. Like when they're looking at these quantum particles, they're throwing photons at
and
it.
they're
So it is
interacting with it.
yeah, they're interacting with it. It is. I would argue that it's causal,
Yeah,
but
so you have to be able to
but
observe without interaction.
yeah, and you can't do that. That's
Yeah.
not a thing. Observing is active.
Except
Once
for
you observe
organic
something, you are
technology.
interacting with it.
Well,
But
being able to witness something with no chemical interaction, where you're honestly just receiving it as a witness without, so if I see, if I pretty much is the tree falling in the woods when no one's looking type thing. It's like if you hear it and you see it, uh, and that tree falls, you were a witness, that the tree fell and it does make a sound, which does conclude it does make a sound when nobody is there. When a
All
tree
right,
falls, it's going to make a sound
definitely.
because you are a conscious witness.
So now the brain is back. So if you say that cause, whenever something that's caused means it also was determined, and there is nothing that we did that isn't cause, wouldn't that mean that everything is determined?
Um, to a certain degree, yes, everything is
To
determined.
to every degree, like
No, no,
unless you
as
could give
far
an
as reality
example
is
of something
concerned,
that,
yeah.
unless
So
there's an example of something
yeah.
that isn't caused.
I would say that no, I think that everything is caused either by human influence or divine influence. So that's what's going to affect things differently if it's of human influence or divine influence. Yeah,
But the human influence, wouldn't that also be a direct result of other things that are caused? Like humans weren't always here, right?
right,
And there was things happening prior to humans getting here.
exactly.
And then humans get here, and then the reality is still going on and affecting us in different ways.
Which is why I
So
said that.
we're just the result of that cause.
Well, this is where I talk about alignment to reality, where alignment we have the ability to be more in tune with reality or more in tune with society, and we're going to get two different results of what reality becomes for us as individuals. So if I surrender my consciousness and my intellect and my ambition and the core of myself just to fit into society, then I'm going to become subject to that society. I want to become subject to the principles of society. And it doesn't matter how awesome, majestic, and great life is, I'm going to be a good citizen. And so now I could be missing out on the reality of life because I'm fitting in the constructs of this social norm. And I think that's where a lot of people consciously are combating. They genuinely want life, but they keep getting man constructs that do that only fulfill a certain side of us when
Okay.
really there's a longing for us to be connected to what really matters.
So remember at the beginning of the episode I said I know I not only don't believe in free will, but I think it's incoherent.
uh,
I don't think there's a possibility for it. Like not just a physical. Like I don't think there is a logical possibility for
I
it.
can see how you believe that. I can
Let
totally even agree why you would believe
let
that.
me demonstrate it.
Okay.
All right. So remember cause and determine they are for all intents and purposes the same thing. Anything is the cause is also determined, right?
Okay.
All right. Now we had already established that there's no uncaused things.
Right.
Right. So I mean that would already require everything to be determined. However, get this. So if something is in order to have free will, an event can't be determined by anything, including you. So think about this. So if it's a non-determined thing means it isn't determined by anything. Wouldn't it be? Right? Because if you're determining something, then it's determined. You need something non-determined. That's another way of saying random. Isn't it?
Or all powerful.
Non-determined
Or
is
all
random.
powerful. Unmeasurable.
Okay, but when I'm not no, not unmeasurable. Like that's an epistemic issue. We're talking about this is ontology
or
here.
all powerful.
Right.
But go ahead.
So no, whether it's all powerful or not, but it needs to be undetermined.
Right.
You're describing something that's random. That is randomness. So
I'm
you have two
describing.
possibilities. You have determined and you have random.
Uh-huh.
Right? Cause would be determined, uncaused would be random.
Can you look it up and see
Now,
if caused and determined are the same thing?
they don't mean the same thing. But what I'm saying, like, if you just look at reality, they are anything that's caused is also determined.
Anything that's caused is also determined.
Yes.
The reason why is because if I shoot so because we're talking about reality, not intention. Those are two different things. Reality and intention. So it's like if I shoot at someone and the intent is to take them out and then they get shot in the head, but they still lived. and they don't lose their memory. They get the bullet out and everything's actually fine, even though the intention it should have, because this is something that has happened where it should have medically something should have happened to them where they lost their function, they got shot in the head, they should be dead or whatever, and they're still alive. And it's like, wait a minute, like if everything, the trigger got pulled, the aim was there, they get shot in the head, but then they don't die. None of that intention mattered, but the reality is that there was causality.
There was. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they live and they were going to live because of a certain cause. Is also and determined that they were going to live.
right. It may be the amount of, their
Right.
skull is extra thick,
Yes.
or
Exactly.
and
Nothing's gonna if you can rewind back time. If everything is the same, then you're gonna get the same result.
Mhm.
Okay. Now
That's why I said intention, like not to confuse intention with reality. Like the reality is, if the person doesn't die, then that's just the reality, and the factors are the factors.
and before I go forward, so there was a comment. So Phantom, he said there isn't just random and determined, there's probabilistic. And so like probabilities is just a form of determined. So like the probability is going to be determined by the parameters of that thing. Right? Like you flip a coin, there's a 1 in 2 chance that it'll be heads. Right? You couldn't get some other option. Right? Also, whether it's going to be heads or tails is going to be based on the physics of the
how
prior
much of-
state.
Yeah.
Now, Robin Webster, he says he doesn't accept that concept of random. Put your concept. What do you think your concept of random is? And or we can
No,
get you on the show. We can discuss.
I did accept
But let
your-
me focus more on this. Just say the comments though.
Okay.
But what were you saying though?
No, I did accept your concept of like random.
No. I
random-
know he wasn't saying you don't. He was
Oh,
saying
okay.
that he does.
it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, and I like to engage with him too. If
No, go
Robin
for it,
Webster,
go
if you
for
want
it.
to come on the show, I'm down to discuss. But anyway, so Phantom says weather is probabilistic. Do you think weather is probabilistic? It doesn't seem that way. I mean, like unless it's violating physics. Like if a cloud gets sufficiently heavy enough, it is going to rain.
Right.
That's just a fact.
Yeah,
Like
that's just-
there
that's
is a
so-
maximum amount of water. There's a maximum amount of water molecules that it can hold. That's not going to be probable.
Right, and then it rains.
Once it
Yeah.
exceeds that point, is 100% chance it's going to rain.
Yeah,
The cloud
so
can't hold more water than it can hold. That's a contradiction.
problematic to me is human interaction in a lot of sense, where it's like a child would be born but when someone decides they're going to abort it, then it's not going to be born. Then there's natural problematic where a woman wants a child and then she miscarries. And so then there's something chemically involved. And this is what I mean about the multi dimensions that humans exist in. So a woman can want a child, but miscarry, but still not consider the things that she put in her body that could cause it, or she could have did everything right and it just happened. And that becomes a very difficult thing for an emotional, conscious person to accept that it just happened. So a lot of times people will run to the divine. God must have not wanted me to have a child, and this and that. God didn't want this, but very few people have the ability to say, I had a miscarriage, because miscarriages are problematic and they're possible and they're a part of reality. Do you see what I mean?
So, and I'll say first, Robin Webster. I misgender her. It's a she. I think I said he. My apologies.
Okay.
So now let's get back to this determined versus randomness, right? So if it's random, then it's not determined by anything, including you. So randomness. So what I'm pointing out is that randomness does not get you free will.
So when I look at the birth, right? There's 1.3 million sperm inside of a man, and when all those sperm are trying to get to the egg, that is a very random part of reality. That once that sperm, it's got a different chromosome. Every sperm has a different chromosome, different. It's a different person. Like you could be a boy. There was 1.4 5 million other people that wanted to
Okay,
occupy
so
your
let's say
space.
those chromosomes. Let's say that was a random process. Would you say that's free will?
No, that part is random.
Right. Not so randomness doesn't get you free will.
I think it does. I
You
think
think
we
randomness gets you free will?
absolutely, because we're conscious being, we're able to dissect reality, not just be victims of it. So we have the this is exactly what I mean. We have the ability
Right,
to
but
evaluate. So there was a time where we did not have that ability. The same way when you talked about before the influence. So
mhm.
when we were in that dimension of reality, when we were sperm, we weren't thinking anything. We just were automatically operating out of randomness, trying to get to that
but
egg.
but but, but, but hold on. But if you were doing things randomly, then they wouldn't be a result of your decisions.
It wasn't.
Right? You mean so? Okay, think about this. Like you eat a steak. You're eating a steak because you're hungry or because you like steak.
But that's
But
after
that's
I
not a
became
random process. It wasn't like there was no cause. You
right. But
just
then you're
ate a
talking about
steak. Like there was nothing that caused it. There was the neurons firing your brain, the chemicals telling you hungry. That had nothing to do with it. It was just
but
an
you're talking about
uncaused thing. You ate a steak.
after I became a conscious being with the ability I became a
Hmm.
conscious being with the ability to make decisions, to communicate, to decide what I wanted to have or to what I wanted to do. So there's that just reality. So there was a time where when I was a sperm, I was not thinking consciously about I was operating in that randomness, operating in however I
And
was operating.
you say that is free.
No, not that part.
Right.
I,
Okay. So random does randomness get you free will? Is what I'm asking.
well, as a human, yes. I mean, ultimately, it,
Right.
it does because
I'm a bit confused here. So if before you were conscious and were capable of making decisions, you would say things are random, which are things that you can't control. That's by definition random.
there was a think about it. The amount of sperm that wanted to occupy that egg besides you, some of them got caught up on the wall of the vagina. Some of them got caught
Sure,
up
but
on
none of that was chosen by you either.
exactly. That's what my point
So
is. That was random.
that's random. Therefore, it's not your choice. It's not your free will that other sperm got stuck on the wall, or that they
Right.
didn't swim fast enough, or that they didn't detach
Exactly.
their tail fast enough, or any of these other millions of factors that went into which sperm impregnated or embedded itself in the egg body. Right?
I get
None
it.
of
Right.
those things were chosen by you. Therefore, it doesn't matter if you had free will or not. Right? Because your free will couldn't have impacted that.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that free will is a product, is an end result. You know what I mean? Free
But wait,
will.
let me just go down that road then. So now that the egg is implanted with the sperm and it
Mhm.
becomes a zygote, at some point in time in the future, assuming that the zygote stays healthy, you eventually get to you, right?
Mhm.
At the current age that you're at, as a conscious being, and as a conscious being who makes decisions, you say that isn't free will either.
Oh, it's not free will that I have responsibility, the ability to, yeah, that's an ability that's given, the ability to make
So
conscious decisions.
So
Because there's
where
people that
between the random
have life.
sperm and egg and the current I can't control things now is there free will? Where does that come in? I'm just confused.
Okay, so if we look at the true consistency, the true pattern, there is a part where the brain is, even though you're on the outside of the womb, where the brain is still underdeveloped. So here we have, well, again, one, it exposes the very truth that humans fundamentally and foundationally, we are needy creatures, right? So we need each other. That would be a determined reality that is not random because we need so much to exist. So the need is what is absolutely determined, and because we need, it explodes into these things like desire. Especially the need for love. This is something that's determined. We need love, we need help, we need friendship, we need relationship. We need these things because our nature, we were created honestly out of need. Whether our parents needed to have sex and then weren't thinking about the consequences, the sequence of whatever it was, we got here. But the point is, the true process is there's a part where our brain, even though we're on the outside, we're still being affected, still don't have control. We're being affected by our environment, the way our parents treated us, the culture that we're in, all that stuff that we don't have control over. And then we get to a place where we become, where our brain neurologically is developed. Now we have the ability to consciously digest, mentally observe, and see what is true, what is good, what is real. And the more we become in tune with our ability to think, the more we should be able to identify and see what is real, what's not real, what is true, what's not true, and be able to explore reality, right? And to squander that conscious opportunity to explore reality versus just like being a Christian because your parents are Christian, or being an atheist because your parents are atheist. Anything. It's like challenge everything. Explore. Use your conscious ability to explore truth and reality versus squandering it. And I personally believe you will see that the fullness that they're pretty much that everything that's in reality has a place where boundaries are set. So there are certain things in water you can't do because you can only do them on land. Those are determined. That's a reality because the molecular structure is different on land than it is in water. Those are things we can't control.
So my question is, so like for things that are random, would you say you have control over that?
I have control over how I let it affect me.
No. That's not what I'm asking. That's not what I'm asking. So like randomness.
So then, no, you don't have control.
Hey, you don't have control over randomness.
You don't have control that the comets going to hit the
Okay,
earth.
but randomness is the logical negation of determined.
It's an illogical.
It's the logical negation of determined. So determined and cause is the same thing. Uncaused and random would be the same thing. It's just happening. There's no prior state of the domino falls for no reason. Nothing hit it. There was no cause.
That's
it
impossible.
just fell randomly.
So the domino.
That's
falls,
what I'm asking.
No, the domino. There has to be a vibration or something that
There has
caused
to be determined, right? So what I'm saying is, so since you only have determined and random or caused and uncaused, there is no possibility for free will. It violates excluded middle.
Well, that's because you when you control that narrative as this there's the only option, but when you apply.
No, I'm not controlling it. No, this is the principle. Like, so this is like a logical. You agree that there is.
Well, God, that's what I'm saying is that
A or non-A, right?
Well, no, this is where the issue becomes because God is not confined to logic. He creates logic, but he's not confined to it. He creates the boundary of logic.
So, well, you said, okay, could God not be God?
Yeah, you asked me that before. Can God not be God?
Because you said he's not constrained to logic.
Yeah. He's not constrained to logic. God can be whatever he wants to be and still be God.
So God can be not God and God at the same time.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to make sense. It's just the reality that he's all. Let me tell you why. It's to me it's simple, but I don't know. It's because him being God is not just based off his power. Well, that's always returning. It's based off his position of being the first conscious being and the creator of reality. So he can determine what is and what is not based off the fact that we are all more of a figment of his imagination.
But he also doesn't determine what is and what isn't, right? He does and does not determine it.
Yeah, the scripture does say that in John chapter 1 that without him that nothing was created.
But,
So watch this though.
Okay.
He goes, without him nothing was created, right? But then he makes us like him. So then when he looks at things and says, this should not be, but he's invited us to cooperate, not just cooperate, but to cooperate in creating reality. That's how powerful he's made.
So God is both God and not God.
In a sense, yes.
Okay. All right. Let's try.
You want to know why?
Another argument.
Let me tell you why.
If you violate logical absolutes,
let me tell you why. Yeah, it does violate illogical. So this is what he does.
Right.
So man, like this, he makes man out of the earth, right? And it says,
well, he does that, and he also doesn't do that.
Well, so he makes man out of the earth. He forms man out of the earth, and then he breathes. So it says man was not yet living.
But he
But he
Right?
was
was.
also living.
He was also living at the
The
same
man was
time.
also living.
Exactly. Do you want to know why? It's because the life was in God first.
Except it wasn't.
Except it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Yeah, because logically it doesn't have to make sense, right? So the logical negation of everything can flow therefore. Everything you say, I could say the opposite and would have to equally be true.
And it is though. It is
So
equally
so
true.
It
God
also
isn't
isn't
so
true.
so God isn't God. It isn't true that God isn't God. It's true that God is not God and God. It's untrue that God isn't God or God.
It's also true that God can and he cannot violate the logical absolutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He is both constrained and not constrained.
Because we biblically, this is why we see those contradictions. Because they both exist. Because contradictions do exist.
All right.
That's the thing.
Question: Does God know everything?
No.
I believe so.
Well, he can't.
Ha! Because he's God and not God.
Right.
Well,
So
Well, because
that's
he's
one of the reasons. But
omniscient and completely ignorant, right?
right. So go watch this. Because this is it's hard not to say that when it's like he's God and knows everything, but then yet he didn't know what it was like to be a man
okay, I got a question for you. Okay,
But he
now,
did, by the way.
okay,
because he became Jesus.
okay.
No, well, also because he always did. He always has. He's always known what it's like to be a man.
Right.
Because he was also a man and God, and not a man and not God, all at the same time.
Yeah. So that totally made sense to me.
Okay, all right. So let's think about this now. So for those of you who don't know, like Pastor Duke, he was also in the army. You're Army Ranger. You're a Tier 2 Special Forces,
Right.
and so you made the decision to go in the army. Okay, God knew you were going to go into the army, right?
Right.
So since God knew it, could you decide not to?
Absolutely.
And
Then
God
how would
couldn't
God
have
know
known.
everything?
Oh no. So it's so simple. So God gives us the free will to choose. Now God knows what's going to happen if we listen to him, and God knows what's going to happen if we don't listen to him.
Okay, but
Either way.
no. But so I'm not saying like that presupposes that like God is like really smart and he just knows the outcome of each decision. No,
No,
no.
no, no.
Does
That's
he?
that's what I'm,
Is he looking like he's God outside of time and he knows what you're gonna do in the future?
of
So he
course.
okay. So since if God knows something, knows that you're gonna do A, could you decide to not do A?
So the first of all, the answer is yes. The reason why I can decide. So if God's on the other side, he already knows that I'm going to do A. But could I do B? The answer is yes, I could. The issue is, and then now what I'm going to do is live the rest of my life
But
figuring out.
how could you?
Because
Because wouldn't that make God a liar?
no, it means that humanity is still there's a reality of
But
humanity that's missing. The reality of humanity is that the construct or the concept of independence is what brings all the confusion. Is if I know that we were designed to be interdependent on God, like with just us and
no,
God.
okay. Let's get this dependence thing. All right. Okay. The God knows God knows what I was gonna do. So God knew I was also going to join the army. Some like 2 decades later. Okay. All right. So since if God knew that, if I made the decision to not do that, then that means God would have believed something false, which means he could not know everything.
No, so if what it is that God's not constricted by time. You're still thinking in a linear, not an eternal. So if God's on the other side of time, he knows more about why you've done what you've done before you do. You just it's not that it's
But
determined.
but okay, but no. So but if God knows in advance that I'm going to do something, right? So that's God's knowledge, right? I am not God's knowledge, right? You would agree. So God knows I'm going to do
Right.
something, and then there's also me, right? And God's knowledge is one thing, and I'm different. So God knows that I'm going to do A. Let's just say I enlisted in the army, right? Now, if I decide not to do A, that would mean that God didn't know everything, because he didn't know that I wasn't going to join.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't. Well, he didn't, because I decided not to.
But you're still subtracting the fact that he's already on the other side of time that has witnessed you do this already. So you're trying to figure out he's not confused. You're trying to figure out.
Does God know what time it is right now?
Yeah, God knows.
But so he's not outside of time, then, is he?
No, we're talking about an all-knowing God. So
But he knows if he knows what time it is right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
then he's not outside of time.
He's not outside of time. I mean,
Right. Okay. So
no. I made a mistake there. I'm saying that he's outside of time. He's all encompassing. So he is in time, but he's also outside of time. You're talking about a complete definition of sovereignty. There's no dimension that he doesn't have access to. So time is a dimension that he has access to and determines. There's the sovereignty. This is why I said that there's a difference between sovereignty and our free will. Human free will and God's sovereignty are two completely different things. So God can interfere whenever he wants to. God can do whatever he wants to. He can destroy whatever he wants to. He's the ultimate power. And so that's the whole thing, is that we're not the ultimate power. We don't have all understanding. We can figure out as much as we can and try to create some form of cohesiveness with life and truth. And, but ultimately, like there's, that's why I said that there is causality, there is determinism, there is the random. Okay. All of those components play a part in reality.
All right. All right. So let's say God is outside of time, right? Does he do anything when outside of time? Like, is he having thoughts? Does he do anything?
Of course, he's a creator. So he's
right.
Creating.
So all right. So if he does things like can he move?
Yeah.
Right. So don't you see how that requires time?
Not really.
Like, yes, because if there's one movement, like let's say God decides to walk across this heavenly street that's outside of time, right? Before he gets to the other side, he first had to walk across, right?
So those are actions, but what's the motive of time?
Well, I don't think time has a motive. So I don't think that's like a category yet. I don't think.
What's the purpose of time?
I wouldn't say time has a purpose. Like, I mean, so we use time, but I don't think there was a purpose that for it. So like I think time is just a requirement that's part of energy. If you have energy, there's going to be motion, and there's going to be things before and after certain movements, things before and after certain motions, right? That is time. And when you say God is outside of that, it doesn't really make any sense.
Well, so again,
because he
one it's not going to make sense because God is not confounded even by a body. We're talking about pure consciousness. We're talking about pure power, creative consciousness that has the ability to create at the speed of thought. So you do have action, but you're not talking about someone that is constrained by time.
Question. So remember things in Genesis 5 or 6, it says God repented, he felt regret for making man.
In 6, yeah.
Okay. So before God felt regret, did he feel regret?
Do you have to know what the word regret actually meant in that context?
It doesn't matter what it is. Like, I'm saying, because that's irrelevant to the point that I'm getting to.
Well, the word
regret, whatever regret is, before he felt it, whatever it is, could he feel it before he felt it?
Could he feel it before he?
Could he feel regret prior to feeling? So there was a point where he felt. There was a point where he felt regret, right?
He said that the fact that when man fell, he said that man has become like him.
And there was a point before he felt regret, right?
Right.
Okay. So would that mean that God is not outside of time?
That shouldn't have anything to do with time. Regret.
Yes, but no. So because there is a before and after, you feel regret. If there's a before and after, then there's a time.
So God is the one that created the construct of time. So he knows how to work within.
When did he create time?
So you would say when is the time that he created, right? It's like when is
Right,
the
that's what I'm
time?
saying. Like it's a
Yeah. No.
contradiction.
So this is what, first of all, contradictions just exist. And you have to think from, especially in Hebrew culture, they only think in action. It's that he created time, not when he created time. So just as much as we want to say when, the reality
Well,
is that he created
but
time.
I'm not concerned about the Hebrews limitation on describing things. I'm talking about the actuality of what's going on.
And
If
the
we're
actuality
saying
is this.
God creates time, we're saying there's an act. Then there was a before and after that act
So when he
that
says in the beginning,
presupposes
so if you say
prior
in the
time.
beginning, God, right? So when we think of the beginning, the
Hmm.
answer is God. God is the beginning. God's the beginning of it all. God is the beginning of time. God is the beginning of life. God is the beginning of death. God is the beginning of truth. God is the beginning of lie.
Right.
God is the beginning of everything that is and everything that is possible and everything that will be. It all begins with God.
If God began everything, and so He caused everything, you're
Mhm.
just the result of His causal chain.
And
How
you,
would
so
you
now
then have free will?
So now I have to examine. I didn't have the free will to receive free will, but I have free will. I didn't have free will to receive free will.
But so when you talk about your free will, doesn't that require a break in causality?
Yes, because we're not just subjects to the
Where
earth
where
system.
is this break in causality? Can you demonstrate anywhere in the universe in any example of give me an example of a break in causality happen?
Well, so this is where I specifically bring in the resurrection, right? This is where it's supposed to be impossible because Christ was dead. You know what I mean? Christ was killed. It's supposed to be the end of the story, but it wasn't.
No, that's
And
not a
now,
break in causality. Like that's totally causal. You have a God who's capable of anything, and then He raises somebody from the dead. That's a causal chain. I'm talking about a total break, whereas something happens for no reason whatsoever. Like it is not part of any causal chain. Like so right now I think about the causal chain. The Big Bang happened, energy spreads out, matter cools down, atoms created, stars, galaxies, planets, and then on the planets life. You have this continuous chain. I'm like, can you give me and you hit this think of these dominoes, right? And you're saying at some point there's a domino that's not hit. It decides not to
well, so
fall,
to
or
me,
it falls for no reason whatsoever.
yeah. Then to me, then I still see. So falls for no reason. Uh, then I still see the Tower of Babel where they had a reason. For them, they wanted to. They don't. They believe like you. They don't believe that
Right.
this.
So they had a reason. So that's not an
No. But
example.
what I am saying is that for no reason, it's like wow, like Abraham heard the voice of God. Like God speaks to Abraham,
Yeah.
but Abraham chose to believe him. Abraham, it could have been just a voice in his head. Why didn't Abraham
But
say, what if it's just mental illness? Why didn't Abraham say,
so but
he chose
doesn't
to believe?
like doesn't God give us our faith?
We have to choose to believe.
No, but I thought faith comes from God. Is it? Let me. I gotta look at
Faith
this
comes by
passage.
hearing and hearing the word of God. It says
Okay,
faith comes by,
that is causal. Comes by hearing.
no, but you
So
still
like
have
so
to
what I'm
receive it.
saying. So there isn't that causal?
No, so I say causality does exist. Determination does exist, and free will does exist.
Right,
So
but what
all
I'm
can
saying,
exist
so
together.
there was a causal chain that began that had nothing to do with humans. So if the causal chain is continuous, how could humans
Oh,
have free will?
well, this is one of the things is that we have again the free will is limited. That's the problem is that the way Christians promoted free will, that part is false. We have the ability to only choose to receive God or reject him. We have the ability, so the free
But
will
doesn't the
is,
Bible say that you first must be called?
what do you mean you first must be called?
Like when you're talking about
Oh, the choice. So it
salvation.
says, well, I know it says many are called, few are chosen, and then it says that none choose him. That he's the one that does the reaching. It also says that he has blinded the eyes of the Jews until the days of the Gentiles are revealed. So here's where you see a lot of God's sovereignty. We have the opportunity.
Sounds like sovereignty and your choice kind of don't go hand in hand.
Well, they're two. They are two different dimensions. So God presents His sovereignty once. This is why the Great Commission is so awesome that we go out and share the gospel. Even Jesus Himself said, "If they reject you, go to a different town, go to somewhere else. Don't like." And that's part of the problem with Christians not reading the Bible. They'll sit there and chase people and stuff. Well, the Scripture says, if you get rejected, leave. Don't stay. Don't listen. Don't bother people. And so now you have a situation where, again, I'm saying all of these principles exist in their own realm. This is an evolution, but it's a spiritual evolution.
Do you recall that book in Book of Revelation? It's called the Lamb's Book of Life.
Yes.
Okay, so there's people's names that's in that book,
Right.
right? And there's other people's names who are not in the book. So now, if you're not in that book, then you're going to hell, right?
So here's the deal with that. He says you're going to perish. Based off John 3:16, he says you're going to perish.
Right, all right. So that's
I mean, according to Revelation, it says those whose names are not found in the book are cast into the lake of fire.
And he also says that he's going to destroy hell, death.
That's fine. Like, I'm not just going to like deep theology here. I just want to. Is it true that if your name is not in a book, then you don't go to heaven?
Right.
Right. Okay.
You have to.
Right. Okay. So if somebody, now that book was written before the foundations of the earth.
Revelation 14.
Yeah, and I was born in 91.
Right.
Right. The foundations of the earth was well made after well made.
Right. So now you're talking
so
about.
So my question is, could I have enough faith to go to heaven if my name isn't already in that book?
Can you have enough faith? So your answer to that is yes.
Even if my name is not in the book.
Let me tell you why. Because God is a covenant-keeping God, right?
But that's a contradiction of what you just said. Is it true?
No,
is it true that people whose names in the book go to heaven, and if your name is not in the book, you don't?
So
is that true?
If your name is in the book, right? So the scriptures, even in Revelation, talks about after all these things, that He sends two angels to come and still says, "Hey, for those who rejected Him, those who didn't receive, these two angels still come and say, hey, He's still there." Offering people an opportunity to come in. So this is where I look at scripture and go, wait a minute. He said that there are vessels of destruction, that these are vessels that everything you just talked about, they do not have free will. They were designated not to believe. They do not have free will. The ones that have free will are matter of fact, if you pull up John chapter,
think about this. So the people whose names are not written in the book, they don't have free will.
Yeah. So because if it's
all right, so a vast majority of the people don't have it. Then.
The majority of listen, man.
Hold up. Let's think about this.
Wouldn't that also mean that the people whose names are in the book also don't have free will?
That's what I was about to say.
So remember, he talks about those that are called Christians. That he says, many will say to me, "Lord, Lord, didn't we do this in your name? Didn't we do that in your name?" And don't forget, he also talks about being blotted out of the book. So it's not just not in the book, but he talks about people being blotted out of the book. He also talks about people being rejected.
When it says being blotted out of the book, the context says that no name can be blotted from the book because the book is written before the foundations of earth and sealed with 7 seals that should only be opened on the day of judgment.
Right.
No man can blot your name out.
No man can block your name out, but you can blot yourself out because it's by.
Are you a man?
Okay. Yes.
And you can't. Then therefore, you can't blot your own name out either because you can't change a book that was written before the foundations of the earth that was sealed with 7 seals. That only His name, of which the King of Kings and Lord of Lords is written on His thigh, is worthy to open the book, which is why John weeps.
This is why it says he will reject those. He will block people out. He will do this. So you can do things that cause yourself to be rejected by God, even though like he says in Matthew 7, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, didn't we do this in your name? To them, to themselves, they thought that they'd done enough to be
Yeah,
received.
but their names weren't in it, so they
And
thought that, but
he
their names
rejects
weren't.
them.
But dude, so they just thought their names were in the book, but it wasn't.
That's correct.
Those guys were never Christians.
Right.
They were
And
never in the
yeah,
book. Their name couldn't be removed because it was never there to begin with.
and
Now,
also they didn't have free will because they weren't
that's what I'm
Christians.
saying. That
Right,
there
so
is
they
a group
couldn't
of
even
people.
decide.
There
That
are
so
a group
so
of, but
okay,
not
so
everyone's
now
in that situation. Hold on, not everybody's in that
okay.
situation because 2 Timothy chapter 3 talks about those that have a form of godliness. And what you're seeing is principle. Hold on. What you're seeing is principle, right? That people get to choose which principle they surrender to. That is where the free will comes in. Because he said in the beginning, I lay
But you don't
before
get to
you.
But
choose not if
they
your name is not in the book.
they would have only chosen it if their name was indeed in the book.
You want to know one of the reasons why I like what you guys are saying, and I actually agree with you, is because of the fact that because he does say that all of this stuff that we're doing is so that we will know his love. So it's like, oh, the reason why there's determinism, the reason why there's random, and the reason why there's causality, and all these things, at the end of all this knowing and unknowing is to know him, what he stands for, so that there's no confusion, so that we understand who's in charge and who he is. So that's one of the reasons why I'm like, like, because you guys really are making sense. You know what I mean? And what's interesting is I still hear the sovereignty of God, like even in determination, because it clearly says that when you look at all this determination, all this causality, and we're saying, hey, it's written, there's nothing you can do about it. This is where I go, well, then where does the free will exist? Well, the free will exists to either align yourself with God or not. However, watch this. The fact that this is why I said God's sovereignty rules over free will, because I can say, hey, God, I've done absolute everything that you say that I was supposed to do. And
Yep.
then
I've
it's like,
cast spirits out in your name, and then God can still say, "I never knew you."
I never knew you. He can still say, I never knew you. Like, good luck. You know what I mean? And I'm totally cool with that.
So
Because
then it doesn't seem to matter, right? Like there's nothing you can do. The actions that you're going to take, the steps you're going to take,
and what would
everything that you will do, God knows, and because He's known it, He's written it in that book since the foundations of the earth,
yeah. And
right?
so here's the
Therefore,
thing.
your path is undoubtedly laid out, and
Yeah,
there's
and this
no decision that you make that will alter that book.
did you want to know how I know it's true that what you're saying is because there is nothing on this planet that can make me stop believing in him and who Christ is. So I'm built this way. Like I don't like I've tried to walk away from the faith and I can't.
I
I,
got a
I, I
question
can't
here.
help but see God in
I
everything.
I like to investigate God's free will. So like, does God has a nature, right?
Yeah, God has a nature.
Can
We
he
haven't
do
experienced
can,
it all, but
can God do things outside of his nature?
so we have this is the beautiful thing. It's a mystery because we don't have access to all
No,
of
I'm,
God's.
I'm not asking if we have access to the nature. We don't need to know
Well,
what
then
it is.
then I would have to say I just
Can
don't know.
God do something out of his nature?
Then I would just have to say I don't know because I know that God's true to Himself, but like God's sovereign. So all I know is God's sovereignty, and
Hmm.
so if angels are in awe of Him,
First,
I'm a human.
is
So
lying in God's nature?
uh, the Scripture says that He's done it. You know what I mean? He's like you said, He repented from the evil.
So then lying
So
isn't his nature. Can you give me an example of something that's not in God's nature?
I can't because like the Scripture you're
Okay.
talking about,
All
he's
right.
yeah, He's done some
Is
wild
God
stuff.
okay? Is God gay?
Is God gay? Well, no, I do not. No, I know He's not
So
gay.
is being gay in God's nature?
Is being gay in God's nature? No, it's not because He says that because God
So
is a God of
so if it's
purpose.
not in his nature, then could God choose to be gay?
So you're taking out what humans do, right? Or you're
No, no,
inserting
no,
what
no.
humans do.
It's just a question. I'm not making any assumptions here.
No.
I'm
See,
just
you're
asking.
inserting that because remember when God is saying that there are things that humans should not do. So God is aware of what He likes and doesn't like,
Okay,
right?
well, I'm not even talking about performing any act. I'm just talking about just being attracted to another male
God wouldn't be
god.
attracted to humans.
Okay, all right. So is that in its nature?
Reproduction is in His nature.
No, that's not. Hey, but can you just please just answer the question I'm asking, right?
So I'm really
So
trying.
yeah,
So
okay. So
because reproduction is not a so reproduction is in His nature.
has nothing. This has nothing to do with like reproduction. You can be gay and still have kids with a woman,
Mhm.
right? So like that's irrelevant. Like we're just talking
Oh
about
no,
her
I'm talking about the
attraction
purpose
here.
of sex. That's what I'm saying. Is that see? That's what I'm saying. God wouldn't be attracted to humans
Okay,
because purpose, like
Okay,
attraction,
but okay, his non-attraction to humans, is that part of his nature?
is not attractive. He's a father to humans. He's the creator of humans. So he was going to look at that from the
Okay,
perspective.
is his fatherhood his part of his nature?
Yes,
Okay, so we have a definitive part of God's nature defined by his fatherhood. Could God change
and
that?
his motherhood.
Could God change that?
Well, that's why I said it's also inclusive. He doesn't need to change anything because he's
But
both.
could
no,
he change it?
could he?
Could he change it?
Yeah,
Yes.
could he
Uh,
change it?
yes, in the sense of how he operates, as though he can go from Father to Son, to Holy Spirit. He can go from
But
any
would he
dimension.
still have that nature? Or could he eradicate that part of his nature?
He doesn't lose any part of it. He can acknowledge any part of himself that he wants to. I can acknowledge, like, so I can go out here and acknowledge any dimension of myself that I want to. I can go out here and act like a complete buffoon
Right,
and just,
but I'm just going to use the very basic analogy here. You know how they say like a zebra can't change its stripes?
yeah.
Okay, like I'm talking about at that very basic level. Can
So
God eradicate the fatherhood of his nature?
can God eradicate the fatherhood of his nature? Do you know one thing that God can't do? If you want to know what God can't do, is not be the first. He cannot not be the first. He is the beginning. So he cannot, that's the only thing that I can think of that God cannot do is not be the first. He's the first to did everything.
Can
Like,
God be evil?
clearly. He's
Okay.
no, like clearly, like what do you like? Because he wouldn't be sovereign if he couldn't be evil.
Well, okay,
Because
I'll tell you my argument because I can't get there. I was trying my best.
okay.
Facade also knew where I was going, and he was trying to, but we can't
The
get
only
there.
reason is because
Let
when
me
we
tell you what can I tell you what my argument was? Okay,
yeah,
all I was gonna ask was, is God limited to His nature? I
it's
thought you
not.
would have said yes to that. And
Is
so
God
the question was, can God alter His nature? If not, that would also be a constraint on
I guess
God
to me
with a
that was what
cause
the
that would
thought
also
was.
require a causal chain, which means
Yeah,
that God doesn't have free will either.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where I was gonna try. I was
No, the
trying to
reason
go.
why is because when you watch God, when you watch the claim that God that Jesus is God is in the vulnerability that is like he didn't have to go through that to save us, and it in a sense it sucks because it's like man he could have killed humanity in the
Question:
flood.
How about this? So the names is in the Lamb's Book of Life, right? Could God decide to send all of those names to hell?
Again, he can do whatever he wants. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing is that
Okay.
God has to be in complete control. Uh and man, I'm sorry if I'm messing up your interview, man. Because
No,
it's
no, I mean
I'm
you're
like,
answering honestly.
because
Is
I'm
that
like,
like yeah?
is it like you were
These
talking
are
about an all
unorthodox
powerful God?
answers,
Because the,
and
the
so
reason why is because there's so much that I don't know that I don't have to have an answer to. Like if I don't
okay.
know it, I don't know it, and there's so much that I don't know that when I do understand when we hit the boundaries of logic that the only thing that can be is either it's impossible or God can make it happen. Either it's impossible, there is no God, or it's impossible for us and God can make it happen because he's the creator of reality. So either way, if God maneuvers in this dimension, in this realm, it's going to be in a way that we can figure out. But if he doesn't do anything, we can't figure out because he hasn't done anything. And so the scripture you can talk about how it's the heart of God to create a mystery. and the heart of man to figure it out. Like that's like a beautiful relationship between God and man. Because if you look at life from God's perspective, He has nothing else to do but challenge us.
Question: Could God was God uncaused?
I believe He was uncaused.
Right.
I believe
So
He's
now so since he's uncaused, so it was just random. God did not decide his existence, did he?
no. God always is.
Right. So it was just is. It was uncaused. He didn't
Yeah.
decide his existence. He didn't decide his nature. All of those things he
Yeah.
didn't decide.
So this is where I annoy a lot of people because I believe in this not pantheism, but it's like this more this simultaneous causality. Like this is just like because there was nothing, something had to consciously bear witness that there was nothing. Simultaneous. You know what I mean? Like because there was nothing, something conscious, and because there's nothing, something had to be everything that nothing was. To bear witness on every level that nothing is, everything that is had to be able to determine what nothing is. It's opposite. So where everything that there's something, there has to be a conscious witness that there is nothing. So everything's bearing witness so God is that everything that bears witness. And so when I look at God and I go, what is your motive behind all of this? And the scripture makes it clear that this desire was to have a family, right? So he creates man because if he's first of all, if there's nothing except him, this is all his show. And then he shares his life with us, you know, like that's the real beautiful part is that he shares his life with us, and then full well knowing that we were going to do what we did, knowing that we're going to operate the way we did, and he still gets on the cross, knowing that it wasn't him that caused it, but it was humanity. Humanity made the decision. Put it this way: the reality of us not being God is something he had to accept. But knowing that we were created for this eternity, for eternal purposes, and he said it is to know him in John 17, that we will know him. Once we get that knowledge of who he is, now we have a fullness of a knowledge of who we become and who we are. And then that becomes this eternal relationship. I don't think our story has even started yet, to be totally honest with you. I think we're in the caterpillar stage.
But I hate that in the conversation, my daughter came in here. She's letting me know that it's time for her to get in bed. I got to put her in bed
You
soon.
got to get to work.
So,
Yeah, I got you.
yeah, so it's 8:30. But however, I want to thank you for coming on. I enjoyed the conversation, and also I do want to, and maybe like in 2 weeks, I'll be busy next Tuesday, but maybe the week after that, I'll hit you up, and I want to have our conversation about whether Islam is a threat to. What was it? Threat to America or was it a threat to
It's a
me?
threat it's a threat to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Quran controls Islam. It's not a religion. It's a police. It's a political party, but it's not a. It has a religious facade, but it's not a religion. It operates the way early Catholicism did with Christianity. That's how most people think that Europe was a Christian nation. It wasn't. Christianity invaded Europe first. That's where the Druids and King Arthur and they were in the sorcery.
Yeah, that's why like the dangers that when people talk about Islam being a danger to
Christianity
society.
did it first.
You're right. Like the things they point to, I just see parallels with Christianity. And
Yeah.
that is the angle that I'm gonna
No,
cover.
then we're gonna end up agreeing. It's gonna be
Okay,
terrible.
all right.
We're gonna end up agreeing. So yeah, like that's how Christianity got here to America. That's how it colonized around the world. The problem is that that's not what the Word of God says it's supposed to do. But we'll get to that. But anytime you want me on, just let me know.
All right, will do, man.
All right, man.
Guys. Thanks for tuning in. I will catch you guys later.
Fasad, it's great talking to you, man.
It was nice meeting you. Great talking to you.
Yeah, man. Always a pleasure. All right, guys. I will catch you guys later. And no Phantom. It is 8:30 where I'm at. I am outside of time. Corny joke. Okay. But anyway, I'll catch you guys later. I will be next week. I'm gonna be on Be Good's podcast, Ichabod, former Christian rapper from Cross Movement. So check him out. I'll share his page on a link or something, and maybe y'all can catch the stream while we're on. But thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys later.